Good morning, everybody. I am back, and it is good to be back. Although T-Shroom freaking knocked it out of the park yesterday in my absence. And if you loved yesterday's show, go ahead and smash the like for this one because T-Shroom plus Tim, it's going to be a great show. We got a lot to talk about, and this might have been, we got to sit here and talk about this for a second, the most clickbait-looking title I have ever been the owner of. Like, this was my title. I came up with this. And I promise you, this was not just a let's get views. I do want to caution early on saying, hey, we're going to talk about both sides. And in future episodes, I'm actually going to be getting on here very soon a Bitcoin bear to give the other side why you should not be buying right now. But there's a lot of things happening right now in the Bitcoin world. When you're looking at the charts, when you're looking at news, when you're piecing together a lot of stuff, there actually are reasons why you might want to be hedging yourself and prepare for both situations, but that includes buying Bitcoin right now. We're going to be talking about a lot of that in this show, looking at the charts, breaking down the news, kind of giving our takes and our opinions, and I want to hear what you guys think about that as well, because this is a very, very touchy time. It's one of those things that a lot of retail investors are sitting here saying, I don't want to just stay on the sideline if we're going to shoot up to 30,000, but I don't want to buy the top again like I do, it seems like every single time, and then we crash back down and set new lows. It's going to be one of those things that's very hard to navigate and understand what's happening, so we want to present you guys with both sides. Today might be a little more bullish. In another episode, we might go a little more bearish, but make sure you stick around for the entire episode because it is going to be phenomenal. And speaking of yesterday's great show, I'm joined by my co-host T-Shroom, looking like a stud today in his black hoodie. Riding highs of yesterday's awesome show. Thank you all you guys who came and supported, but I don't even think he really needed you. He just kicked it out of the park. How are you doing this morning, T-Shroom?
I'm doing better than I deserve, Tim. Resorting to a classic over there. It's been a good morning. I love to have you back in the studio. It was a little lonely yesterday.
I bet.
I was up for the challenge, and I really enjoyed doing the show by myself because it was a little bit different. But I love having you back in the studio.
Yeah, it's fun to be here, and it was sad to have to be gone. However, my work needed me to be in all day for some training stuff, and it was really good. So to be able to continue to make this channel happen, we gotta make some money. We have to make some outside dough. So I got a job that I have to be attentive to from time to time. This might not be the last time that you guys see me miss a stream because I have to do something for work, but speaking of making money, we yesterday did a very soft launch. T-Shroom did a great job with that one, launching our Patreon. But today is the official full-on launch. We've been over in Discord this morning. We've been responding to people in Patreon. There's a couple things we're still working out, making sure people get into the Discord. But if you have been waiting for it, Patreon is now up and active. You guys can go over there. There's a link in the description. There's 3 different tiers that you can join and be a part of this community. All 3 of them get you into Discord. There's some levels that you can get into a little higher when you're on the higher levels like the gold and the platinum, but go give it a click, check it out. It's one way for you not only to support this community and be able to be a part of getting better equipment here and creating better value when it comes to content, but also, as we said before, this is a channel we want to be generous. So 20% of everything that you guys give and support the channel in is going to be going to charity. I think T-Shroom broke down the levels. We might later on the show break them down again, but I wanted to draw your attention to that. The community is now up and running. This is going to be phenomenal, and so you want to make sure to be one of those OGs. By the way, don't go to my screen. You don't need to, T-Shroom, but shouting out some of the people who got in on that soft launch. I want to just give them a special shout out because we are super blessed and honored that they wanted to be a part of this early. Crypto Mini Bike, he's also in chat. Elo Brown, I believe I saw his name in chat as well. Yes. Jose Minyarva is here. Crypto Ben Franklin, Jesse Oster, some of you guys know him as Mr. J, Eric Wallen, Matt C, Jeffrey Fritz, Josh Newman, also known as Cryptex. Shout out to all of these first day joiners of the Patreon and the Discord. If you want to join them over there, like I said, after the show, link down below, go and click. Look at the best option for you. We have a $5, a $20, and a $50. It's going to be phenomenal. We'll talk more about that, though, in the show. Let's get into some crypto stuff. Before I read names in chat from YouTube, T-Shroom, what are some of the headlines we're going to be talking about in the second half hour of the show today?
We've got a lot of headlines, Tim. I'm going to be trying something new a little bit today. Gonna just go rapid fire through the headlines. Not gonna stop at any of the headlines and break them down, except for the last one because it is just ridiculous and we have to break it down. But before I read those headlines, let's get into the quote of the day, which is, if you find a way to make money, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. And that's Warren Buffett. And you can take Warren Buffett's word and take it to your wallet because Warren Buffett has stood the test of time.
Yeah,
his investments.
That's like someone reiterated that quote, like I think a couple weeks ago. Is Grant Cardone. He talked about that, and then he also, I don't know if you guys heard this. He was on a podcast or something. He said, if I only made $300,000 a month for my family, I would be embarrassed as a man.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, thank you, Grant.
Yeah.
Thank you for making the rest of us feel like crap. And he explained his thoughts on that one. I don't know if I'm ever going to be a $300,000 a month type of person. But if you need to, I mean, find ways to make money while you sleep. You know what I mean?
People like that, it just makes them seem out of touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes you look rich, and that impresses some people, but it also makes you look out of touch, and it makes people feel insecure. I don't understand why people say that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with making that much money.
No, especially if you're putting it to good use. So. Anyway, let's get in here before we jump onto charts and we start to break down Bitcoin and if it is a good time to buy or not a good time to buy. Let's read some of the names of chat this morning. I'm not going to be able to do as many of them, but I'm going to do as many as I can. Special shout out to Here to Learn, our first commenter of the day, and also he's a Hokie, so special shout out to him. Big win last night, Hokie Nation over Duke in basketball. For those of you who don't know what that means, it's like David versus Goliath. I don't know. Duke's not that good this year, but Tech is really not that good this year. 7-game losing streak until this win. So you take all the wins you can get. Shout out to Here to Learn, though, and shout out to Hokies. V Slim is here. Curtis Rorick is here. As mentioned, Crypto Mini Bike is not only on the Patreon, but he's also in chat this morning. Zegger is here. Henry C. Hernandez. Gianoli 516 is here. Crypto Trades. A mellow fellow. Yeah, Win Peoples. Mr. J, he's also in the Patreon, is here. Cash at Cats, Crypto Set Guy, Cryptex, Crypto Trades again. Alex Green is here. Eric Wallen, Mr. Bitcoin, CBD Suddy, Gia S, Brian D.
Gia S.
By the way, Brian D said he smashed 2 likes. That is great. We got 66 people here watching, only 36 likes. That means there are 30 of you who have not smashed that 4-fingered mitten just yet. Go ahead and do it while I read the rest of these names. Ninja Glock is here. Brad Geidel, the kid coming. Good, come on. Elo Brown, Yair Navarro, Steve Shrum, old Papa Shrum. Good to see him here.
Shrum.
Max PP, world's best health coach, Justin Eubanks, and Wes M. And if I did not read your name, it does not mean I don't love you, but it is time to jump into our content because we got a whole lot for you guys. T-Shroom, let's go ahead and jump over to my screen. And today's going to be an interesting day. I know T-Shroom got to cover some of this yesterday, did a phenomenal job breaking down TA, but I'm going to kind of look at some stuff that even I've been seeing here. We're going to go all over the place, and then I'm going to break down why I think potentially this could be a good time to be buying more Bitcoin, or at least continuing a DCA strategy to acquire more. Let's start off here on let's go down to the 4-hourly chart, actually. Yes, I have the RSI and stuff pulled up. You're going to see we're still creating bearish divergences, but if you go back in history, bearish divergence is not end-all, be-all. If there's a lot of momentum happening, bearish divergences can take 3, 4, even sometimes 5 different peaks before they finally play out. Something that I think is interesting to keep your eye on is another bull pennant that we look to be forming right here. You guys can see we kind of started over here back in January on the 12th. Well, we're still in January, so this is just a couple of weeks ago. We got our little bull flag, our pole right here. The question is, I don't know how you guys want to read this, whether you want to read this as a pennant or whether you want to read this as a flag. The difference there being that a pennant, of course, would be getting closer and closer together. A flag is parallel. Either way, when we came down here and dipped on the 18th, we set up a new flagpole that broke out perfectly. So all you do is you clone this little guy over here, and then you move it over, and this played out perfectly to the peak that we just had here a couple of days ago, but it looks at the moment like we're setting up another bull pennant. So in which case, all we got to do is clone this sucker one more time, and now we move it over to a potential breakout spot. I don't know exactly where we'll end up bouncing and rallying, or even if we will, but if we did, this prediction would give us an above $25,200 level, which is very important because that was the peak that we had back in August. This would tend to send us all the way up towards 25,600. So this is just one of the things I'm seeing on smaller timelines. Keep your eyes out for, because guess what? Sometimes these end up breaking. A lot of people like to use bull and bear pennants and flags, and they just want them to keep on going, keep on going. Eventually, they do stop going. But for right now, we still have this squarely in place, so keep your eyes on that formation kind of starting right there. Let's take a look at some other things going on here on the 4-hourly chart. I want to pull up some things that I don't always pull up early, but let's start right here with the fixed range volume profile. By the way, I'm going to pause right there. A lot of people have asked, I've seen it in certain Discord channels, I've seen it when people ask in comment sections. You guys will see technical analysts use the volume, the VRVP, visible range volume profile. And you have to have a certain level in TradingView to get access to that. This is not the visible range volume profile. This is the fixed range volume profile, but it's the exact same thing. It just lets you decide what area you want to look at. And this is not something you have to have a paid version of TradingView. If any of you are out there saying, "Hey, I don't pay for TradingView just yet. I just have the free version." All you have to do to find this one, I gotta remember which one it is. It's one of these sections right here. Yeah. Not that one. Is it the marker? Nope. Is it this one? Give me just a second, guys. I want to make sure I find it for you guys. Oh, it's right down here. Okay. All right. So if you were to go down on your little screen on the left, can they see? They can't see. Is there a way for me to like show that to them?
You have to make your window smaller. Just drag the window.
Guess what I'm gonna do? Yeah. All right, you guys can see this, by the way. Look, the Patreon thing in the bottom. All right, so here we go. You guys can see with me right here. Let me actually, stretch this out just a little more so you guys can see it. Boom. If you guys are looking at this left window right here, go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it'll be the one right above the heart. It might not look like this, but if you pull this tab open, come all the way to the bottom, fixed range volume profile, that is the tool that I am using right here. And now we get to go back up to full screen. And this is going to tell you everything you need to know when you're using fixed range volume profiles, when you're using volume profiles. My point for bringing this up, why did I even talk about that? I just wanted to show you guys, give you a little education on how to pull that up. We are sitting in a spot right now that we've cleared a lot of volume. We've cleared a lot of different hurdles. And even if we end up having a dip, all of these things that were working as resistance in the past are now going to be turned back into support. And again, with the thought that there more than likely is still another push to go to the upside and clearing potentially the other two hurdles we're currently sitting at, we're going to get into a zone where, I know you guys have heard me talk about this, the peaks and the valleys are the two most important parts. These peaks, those are hard to get past. These valleys are hard to get past. This is a weird situation where, look at this valley. There's almost no volume whatsoever. So it's not like we just get right down here to 25,000 and it's like, all right, that's all we can do, time to stop. There's almost no resistance sitting above us. This is actually one that would happen is we would slide all the way up till the first level of resistance up towards $27,000. So we got to kind of clear these two peaks first. But if we can get above this right here, $24,000, and continue to make our way towards 25, I don't think necessarily that the stopping point is going to be 25,000. I think the stopping point is either 24,000 itself, but if we can get above that, I think there's a good chance that we can see Bitcoin start to rally all the way up towards 27,000 before we finally see resistance again. You guys know from past streams, my prediction at this point, anything is possible, but if we can get above and close above 25,000, this peak right here that we had back in August of 2022, and we can hold it maybe for a couple of days, that is setting a new higher high. I do think we'll retrace back down, maybe even as low as 20,000, and we'll set a new higher low, but that is the beginning of the bull market. It might still take a very long time to see any type of significant price action, maybe back up towards new all-time highs. But the concept of moving from setting lower highs and lower lows to moving higher highs and higher lows, that would start if we can break above and hold above 25,000. And there's some things here saying that that absolutely could happen. Let's move over and look at a different chart here on Bitcoin. I'm going to go over to my Bitstamp and pull up the log chart here. There's two things I want to point out for you guys on this chart. The first one, let's zoom out here, is you guys have known, if you guys have been watching this channel for a while, we've been talking about on the log chart, there's a longer timeline falling wedge pattern that we had been below and hadn't even touched resistance since all the way back in March of 2022. So we're coming up on almost a full year since even touching this level of resistance. Well, not only did we come up here and touch it, we actually quietly broke through it. I put this over on Twitter this morning. We're now sitting above this level of resistance. So here's the question. Is this actually just a fake out? Because sometimes those types of things happen. Or is this another sign of things to come? I will say there is something to keep your eyes on this same exact chart. Let's go down to the 4-hourly chart to take a look at it. And that is that we do have a smaller time frame rising wedge developing. I think we got another good pump left in us before we break. But if a falling wedge breaks to the upside, well, in the same breath, then rising wedges break to the downside. Don't be surprised to see us find support right here, actually end up rallying, and then maybe come up here somewhere and then find and break out down low. Now, this isn't perfect because, again, even this right here, this is going to say, you know, we would have to do this all below 27,000. So let's just even pretend right here. Let's say my prediction is right, that 24 ends up being a level of, when I say prediction, I mean if it gets to that level, it's going to be hard to break. 24,000 a place we break, and then we break to the downside. That absolutely could happen. And this is where it gets a little sticky. And I put over on Discord this morning for all the people that are already over there. I don't know. This is a pretty vertical rising wedge. And you're going to find a lot of times the ones that break out to their full length are the ones that are more horizontal. This is pretty vertical, but let's just stick with it. I'm going to be a little bearish here for you guys. If this does hold up, the breakout point for this, and let's just pretend that is right, we break somewhere over here around January, the end of January. This would give us a price prediction all the way back down towards 19,200. Now, you guys know if we were to switch over to our other chart here, that range is this range I've had circled as a place for retracement, although I didn't think that we were going to get this crazy high up here either. I thought we were going to reject somewhere closer over here towards $21,500 and come down to these levels. But keep your eyes, this zone is still very, very, very important for a place of support. Moving back over to that chart, though, let's go back over to my Bitstamp chart. Keep your eyes on what's happening here. This also would make a lot of sense because, as we've talked about in the past, when you break levels of resistance, it's very bullish to come back down and treat them as support. That's one of the ways you can kind of just return the trend. So I'm not saying necessarily this is exactly what's going to happen, but this chart makes a lot of sense to find rejection somewhere around $24,000 at another level of resistance of this rising wedge pattern, break back down, turn this longer timeline one into support, and then potentially be able to go up from there. Let's move back over, though, to our other chart, our more common chart, and let's talk about a couple other things that I wanted to mention here. Let's pull up our let's see, what is this? This is the Fibonacci retracement. Sorry, guys, blanking on the names. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys there is some things to look at right now when it comes to the more bearish side. Things the charts are saying, hey, this could be a place to reject. The first one is if you were to go back to that high of 25,000 back in August down to the bottom. Currently, right now, we are wrestling with that 0.786 level. This does imply this rally we've had is a massive bullish trend. It means the bulls are back in charge since this peak back in August. That just doesn't necessarily mean, though, that we can break through it. So I'm going to want to see, for more confidence, I do want to see Bitcoin break through this level right here at 23,100, get above 0.786 level, and then start rallying back up towards the 0.1. But if we can get back, even back to that level, now your eyes start to shift and say, all right, this is Fibonacci retracement. What about Fibonacci extension? You don't hear people talk as much about Fibonacci extension, but that tool is just as helpful to help predict where you can go to the upside. And the first level I'm looking at right there is, guess what? 27,200. That's similar to what we were looking at in a fixed range volume profile. And that is the 1.214 level on the Fibonacci extension. So keep your eyes there. We do got to watch this level. And I'm going to show you one more thing that I'm concerned about that I think T-Stream brought up yesterday, but I want to go more into detail with it. This is one thing to keep an eye on, this level right here. Can we break through? And if we can, not just looking at 25,000, again, I think we're looking a little higher up towards 27,000. But let's go to that other indicator, and that is Lux Algo. You guys know we love Lux Algo. By the way, if you don't have it, you're going to want to get it. Someone asked me in Discord this morning, you know, what are your favorite indicators if you can't choose Lux Algo? And there's absolutely great indicators out there, but Lux Algo is one of my go-to hey, I want to use this to help me understand levels of serious support and resistance, areas where I see a lot of strength and weakness in the market. Lux Algo is the great one at that. But let's talk about what I think T-Shroom kind of hit on yesterday. This is one good reason, though, to be bearish about Bitcoin at the moment. And that is when we look at this reversal zone out here on the daily chart. This just does not happen that often. Yes, it's great when we get into these reverse, but to get above the highest band on the Lux Algo reversal bands, that does not happen often. And I'm not going to go back and show you guys. T-Shroom went and showed you the last time we did this was back in, I believe, January of 2021. We did it and made another good push, and then we rejected. If you were to go back in history, there's times where we go below the support band, and we get one more good push, and then we find our bottom, and we go to the upside. The question is, and this is where I'm going to kind of say I want to see what happens. Are we going to say that when we broke through it here, this next push was that one good push, or does it have one more left in it? The other possibility is potentially, do we see Bitcoin end up doing what a lot of people are expecting us to break to the upside or the downside? And I'll show you another reason why that is here in just a second. But do we actually end up just moving sideways, waiting for this band to go to the upside, and then we break to the upside? Either way, we are massively overstated on Lux Algo's chart here on the daily chart. We got to see something happen here. I want to see these bands continue to the upside. Otherwise, we could be looking at a good rejection right there. And again, the levels I'm looking at here, 19,600 to 19,000 itself. This is a zone that should be a good place to find support. And the good news about it is that's higher lows. Again, I don't want to overstate that. I don't think I can overstate that enough. Just because we dip is not the end of the world for this bull run. If we want bullish action to happen, that means we get higher highs and higher lows. And those higher lows are the great spots to be buying Bitcoin. One more thing I was to show you. There's a reason why we do think a breakout is happening here very, very, very soon. And that is when we go down to the 4-hourly chart and we pull up our, let's see, I pull up our Bollinger Bands. Let me take my marker off. Let's go down to the 4-hourly chart. This is another area where we've gotten constriction in the Bollinger Bands. And guess what? This implies that a breakout should be coming very, 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 very soon. This is very constricted. It's actually more constricted than we got over here just a couple of days ago before we broke out. So I don't know how long we're going to do it. The fact that we're sitting in a triangle at the moment, we're sitting in a bull pennant, and we got constricted Bollinger Bands, makes me think that it's not going to take very, very long for us to break out. The question is it going to be to the upside, and are we going to get above that 25,000? Again, heading above it, maybe in towards 27, or are we going to start coming back down to these levels of support? This is the question we got to ask. We're going to cover more in the stories section as to why I think that there might be a good chance, even if we go down, that you want to start accumulating more Bitcoin. But for right now, keep your eyes on the Bollinger Bands, keep your eyes on this triangle, because these will be very key in determining if Bitcoin goes up or down. There was one more thing, T-Shroom, I wanted to show here on the Bitcoin chart, and I'm trying to remember what it is. There was another, I can't remember though. If I remember, I might be able to show it later on in the show. Oh, I did want to take a quick look. Oh, that's what it was. I remember now. The daily chart. Another thing to keep our eyes on for levels of support. Sorry, guys. That was a little bit disorganized. But another reason that gives this $19,600 level some support here. Watch that 200 SMA. That 200 that we finally got above after being below for a very, very long time. It would make a lot of sense to come back down and retest that as support. So another reason why, if we dip back down, watch that 200 SMA. The 20 also is one that's intriguing as it continues to climb to the upside. We're massively overextended, but the more bearish one, and I think that could be a good spot if we hit there, I would almost say, and this is not financial advice, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm absolutely buying more when we hit the 200 SMA. And I want you guys to continue to do your own research and find out for yourself what you want to do. That is all we have for you guys on Bitcoin here this morning. I did want to take a quick look at what is happening over on the Dixie, because this is one of the biggest indicators as to what happens over on Bitcoin. It continues, gosh, still have my marker on. It continues to just go lower and lower and lower. There's one more level that I had drawn. I had all of these levels drawn for a couple of months now, and we are testing that last level here around 101.
Getting a little lag on your screen,
it's not going?
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with it.
That's not good.
Yeah. So my screen's okay.
Wow.
Yeah, go ahead and try to...
How unfortunate is that?
Go ahead and try to refresh your... unplug and plug your laptop back in.
All right.
Guys, when you're in the world of technology, in the world of crypto, you have to sometimes deal with technical issues. But as we'll see in the stories, there's definitely some bigger and scarier issues out there. Let's see. Oh, no. Still not wanting to play along.
Well, it's
Okay. No, we're good to go.
All
Good
right.
to go.
Well, it just like literally opened everything I ever have. Goodness gracious.
Sorry about that, guys.
All right. Going over the Dixie, let's go here. Yeah, so it's wrestling with this last line. I don't know how much they saw before my screen cut out. I had all of these lines. Is it still going with me? Nope. All right.
We might have to call it on TA
something is saying
today.
today it does not want to see my charts.
Luckily, we were kind of at the tail end of Bitcoin TA at least.
We're going radio. We're going to close this out. We're going to go radio style right here. The last level of support that I'm watching for that's a major level of support. I mean, there's another level of support below us. Sorry.
Here, I'll try to go to my screen.
The last level that we've been watching for a very long time is around 101.09. We've already touched it. The question is, will we break it? And if so, then we're looking down maybe as far as 98 cents is the next target to be watching on the Dixie. This could be massively bullish. I do think that that Bitcoin will continue and crypto will continue to trade inversely right now on the Dixie, especially with all this news coming out. We're going to cover here in just a couple of minutes with the FOMC and with what the United States government is deciding to do here within the next couple of years. One way or another, though, it's going to be hard to do play-by-play on those ones. One way or another, though, we're going to see Bitcoin hit new all-time highs here in the next couple of years. We're going to see Bitcoin move to the upside. The question is, do we need to have another good dip first, or will we actually just go ahead and shoot straight up, maybe even this week? See, Elo Brown says, stop streaming video games while we are doing a morning lives, T-Shroom.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw it over to you, T-Shroom. Any thoughts that you have? You did the technical analysis yesterday. If you want to go and switch us over to the stock market, even as we begin to prepare for that open, what are some of the things that you're thinking about this morning?
Just on the charts.
Yes.
I mean, we could spend. I mean, I've got to be honest with you guys. What I'm thinking about is natural gas, but we don't want to talk about that quite yet. Let's see. Well, I mean, so we can kind of pitch that. Alt season may be upon us. I think that once we see Bitcoin start to come back down, or just trade sideways, like this movement right here is prime time for alt season, in my opinion. Because what does this do? It allows the phantoms of the world to push up. It allows, and there's a whole article that we're going to cover here. Well, might as well just jump into it now. Let's see where it is. There, the Ape, Mana, Aave, and Phil to move higher. This is kind of what is starting to be predicted now. And why is this? Why, psychologically, why does this happen for traders? Well, as the returns stagnate, right? We went over yesterday the momentum of price. As the momentum of the price lowers, but the price stays kind of the same, investors are hyped up. They want to see those returns. They want to see this giant candlestick again, 8%. They want to see a run up from 24%, right? From 16 all the way to 20 in just days, right? And you're not going to get that in Bitcoin if it's moving sideways. So what do? You go look at the alts, right? And so these guys right here are poised to really, really launch into the stratosphere, contingent upon the price movement of Bitcoin. And one thing I'll point out is that while Bitcoin is trading up above its Lux Algo reversal cloud, meaning it's overbought, right? Theoretically, it's overbought for the time span that it's been trading in. Many of the other coins, Cardano, not anywhere near being oversold, and it's not even in the reversal cloud at all. It did tick into it a little bit, wicked into it. Tron, trading inside, but definitely not outside. Let's even look at XRP, same thing. Cake, same thing. You can go down the line, guys. I don't think that there is another coin that is trading outside of the Lux Algo reversal cloud. So what does that mean? Well, it means that these coins potentially have room to run, especially the ones with high value that are being seen by the market as high value. Gala had a big run up, and Phantom had a big run up recently. So it's kind of hard to tell exactly which one is going to have a big run up, but this could be a time where you look into your moon bag and you're monitoring more closely so that you can take some profit when these altcoins do pop off, or you can try to be ultra attentive to the market, the crypto market, and try to time and try to figure out which altcoin is going to be doing the popping. And you can rest assured we're going to absolutely be doing our research to try to bring you predictions on which altcoin is going to moon next, obviously, but it's anybody's guess. It's really tough to say.
Yeah, it's one of those things you're going to see a lot of influencers say, these are going to be my favorites and these are my things. Ultimately, I think there's still a lot of altcoins out there that have a lot of room to the upside, and they're all going to have different reasons for it. And that means at certain times and different places they're creating different partnerships and they're creating new technology.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be times they jump up and they just go on a crazy run. Cardano is one of those. I mean, I know that people, sometimes don't like how much we talk about Cardano. It's one of our favorites, not only from the technical side and the price action, but it's also one of the most trustworthy altcoins out there. And they have a lot of big development coming. And they're just known. They have a history of lulling people to sleep and people just saying, all right, Cardano's not doing anything whatsoever. And then out of nowhere, it just jumps up 100, 150, 200% within a couple of days.
Yeah.
Not necessarily predicting that it's going to look just like that again, but I do think there's going to be a time where we're just going to wake up one morning and be like, what the heck happened to Cardano? It decided last night to pump majorly. And I have my bags ready for it already. I'm not necessarily entering any trades on Cardano, but I got my DCA strategy over there, and I got pretty much at this point all that I want, and we're gonna see a good rally happen here, hopefully very soon.
Absolutely. Well, it looks like your screen is good to go if you wanted to keep pounding out. I don't know. It just needed a moment to rest. It needed a moment to just kind of regroup, and now it's good to go. Did you want to show one more thing? One or two more things?
I do remember there's one more thing, and it's so sad we dropped below it. I mentioned to teacher this morning, hey, for the last couple of days, the total market cap of crypto got back up to $1 trillion. It's sitting right below right now at $998 billion. But guess what we have developing here? And yes, we talked about this on Bitcoin, and we talked about it on a couple other charts. But we have the makings right now, especially with where we just stopped here. If there's another dip in the market, again, this is a lot of ifs. We do have a left shoulder and a head currently formed on the total market cap of crypto. So again, bullish scenario, everything just continues to go to the upside. Bearish scenario, we do dip back down. Crypto has another dip. We come back down towards 800 and some billion dollars, and we set up a right shoulder. Keep your eyes on this one as well. I do want to make sure people understand. Is Tim saying that crypto is about to enter into an inverse head and shoulders pattern? No, that is not what I'm saying. This has not happened. You cannot count your chickens until they hatched. We don't know what's in the egg currently. This is a possibility, though, if we were to see downside happen in the crypto space. There's a good chance, and we'll talk more about this probably when we cover I don't know, actually. I don't know if we're going to cover this story necessarily. So maybe I'll just go ahead and talk about it here. You can go off my screen, yeah. Something to keep your eyes on. We are 1 week and 1 day away from the next FOMC meeting. Right now, I guess you could go to my screen on this one.
Let's go to your screen.
Right now, we have, I'll update this because I want to make sure, I think this morning. We have a prediction right now, or not prediction. We have people assuming, 62% are assuming that we're still going to get that 25 basis point height rate. 41% are saying we're going to get 0. More than likely, there's a different chart that shows it's closer to 100% that we're going to get 25.
Yeah, and that's this chart, which is saying 99.1%.
Okay. Yes.
And I don't know why there's differences there.
No idea.
Do you know why? You know why?
I don't know who's the one exactly voting on this. I do know we've been using this tool for a while and it has yet to fail us. Yes, sometimes it makes it look closer, but this one has not failed us just yet.
Yeah.
What I do think that this is kind of measuring mine, it's measuring the concept of there are a lot of people that are kind of calling BS on Jerome Powell's hawkish narratives and saying, stop lying to us, Jerome Powell. You are going to pivot in 2023. Because his remarks make it seem like, nope, 2023 is doom and gloom. We're just going to go higher and get more painful. And they're saying BS. You're going to pivot. You're going to go ahead and flip the script. Here's what is going to be very interesting, though. I do expect, I think there's going to be a nice little pump in crypto, in the stock market. I think we're going to see another week and 1 day of pumps. And I do think that Jerome Powell is going to come out and try to knock it down. I think it would not be a terrible trade idea whatsoever to go ahead and hold on to anything you're currently in, maybe even get into some ones you think are a little overextended to the downside, and then sell them on the day of the FOMC meeting when Jerome Powell comes out and tries to knock heads off, because it's not good for his job. If he's really trying to tackle inflation, with everything that's happening, everything he's doing, to see the stock market continue to do well, to see crypto do well, to see these things happen, is going to increase people's desire to borrow money. It's going to increase people's desire to go out and purchase things. It's going to increase companies' desires to hire more people, and which is the opposite of what he's trying to get accomplished so that he can get inflation back under control. So it would make a lot of sense for him to come out next week, give the 25 basis points. That's not bearish. The price is baked in on that. But then with his mouth, try to bring as much negativity as possible, to which some people will listen to it, they'll sell off, and we'll see that little dip. But I do think we got another week of rally before a hawkish FOMC. T-Shroom, what are your thoughts?
Well, this can be a good segue into getting into our market opens, because we'll end the conversation with this little bit here with oil. So take a look here. I have the U.S. inflation rate year over year headline, not core. And take a look. So we're at 6.5, rocking out, pretty optimistic because we are coming down from those highs of 9.1. So if I take just a simple slope and just kind of continue along these dots, this is what you're agreeing with this assumption that these 2 points are kind of an establishment of a slope down. Where does that put us to break even with the Fed's target 2% rate? Because this is where the Fed wants the inflation rate to be. They like some inflation. And there's a lot of debates about that, which, kind of, interstage left Bitcoin, which doesn't have any inflation. Anyway, okay, so take a look here. Where does that put us? December 2023. So does the Fed know that in December 2023 that their target rate is going to be hit? And if so, they're much more likely to listen to the Elizabeth Warrens and other senators who are calling, don't put us into a recession. The jobs aren't worth the inflation rate. There's all these people that really don't want the recession to hit. And hey, for compared to everything else that they yell and scream and complain about, it's not the worst thing. So but the Fed has an incentive. Hey, maybe let's cool it. Jobs, the labor market is starting to soften, although it's remaining resilient. Maybe let's cool it with these hikes so that we don't go into a recession. After all, according to a very, very simple slope analysis, you can say that we will hit our target by the end of the year. Okay, now the big caveat to that is oil, because oil is back on the rise, guys. Take a look at this. Oh, wow, I'm very zoomed out. I'm on the monthly chart. That's because that inflation rate chart is so weird. It's so wonky. But take a look here. I haven't expanded this line out for a while, so I'm going to go ahead and make that happen. So take a look here. So oil has made a run back up to 92.95, and that is really the counter argument to what I just explained, which is that the Fed is starting to soften towards hiking, starting to become more dovish. That's certainly what these type of predictions are saying, and also the one that Tim had up just a second ago. That's what these tools are saying, that the Fed is more becoming likely to be dovish. But as this price right here, as the price of oil becomes higher and higher, that thesis becomes less and less likely, and then we will see a hike. But my bet, and this is where technical analysis comes in so well, is that my bet is that we will go ahead and tick back down. Whether or not we come back and test new lows, I doubt. But I think that we're going to be buying ourselves time here through probably the spring of seeing this move down, come back down, and test new lows, and then probably establish a new high off of this incline here. So, and then it gets trapped here in this triangle here. So it's something to consider. What exactly happens. Obviously, you have the fundamental story of China reopening, and you have some other, story. You definitely want to watch the rig counts in the United States, how OPEC decides to continue their operation, and things like that are obviously going to be very, very impactful on the price of oil. And the big one, right? There's one I left out there, which is the Russian-Ukrainian war, the invasion of Ukraine. And so it's something to pay attention to. The more expensive gas is, the more expensive oil is, the more expensive it is to run your economy, and therefore inflation will potentially persist and be sticky, which is what we do not want. We do not want, let me show you guys on the chart really quick, and then we'll get to the market open. We do not want this slope to get screwed up and say, oh, actually from here, we're going to go sideways, right? And we're not going to see 2% until 2026, right? That would be very, very bad because the Fed at some point would have to say, okay, well, inflation is persisting, it's sticky, or God forbid it moves sideways. right? So those are kind of the different options. But let's go ahead and get into our market open here. We obviously just took a deep dive into oil, so we don't need to look at that again. But natural gas, the market is open. We're 8 minutes in. Natural gas. Oh my gosh, we went back to the monthly charts. Natural gas is down, barely for natural gas. But it is down. Whether or not we're starting to see a bottoming there is still up for debate. Lux Algo has not given it a buy rating quite yet on the daily charts, but the trend tracer is green and it is down in the take profit zone. So hopefully we're seeing a bottoming of natural gas. That's not the greatest thing for inflation because natural gas has the exact same effects that oil does. The more expensive that is, the worse. But your boy T-Shroom is in a long position and really wants natural gas to come back up. Moving along, let's take a look at the indexes here. All red. Not a surprise because the markets had a big pump yesterday. And let's go ahead and take a look at the NASDAQ because we've been tracking these downward sloping lines of resistance for a while now, and they have started to break through. The NASDAQ has had a pretty crazy move to the upside back in late December to now, where we are now. It has had almost an 11% gain. Who would have thought that all the bearishness, all the talk of recession, all the fear, the FUD, and this is what is printing in January, an 11% gain. Guys, that is an extremely good year rate, annual rate, much less a monthly rate. The monthly candle for January, let's go ahead and take a look at that just for the NASDAQ, is going to be crazy. This is going to be insane. Look at this. Look at this rebound. It's coming in really, really hot. So let's keep going. Let's keep doing our market analysis. Today, this is what would be expected. A little bit of a correction from that overheated bullish pressure yesterday. So we are getting a bit of a sell-off in the indexes this morning. Not too much of a surprise there. Broadly, crypto looking red, although you are still seeing Binance Coin up 2.7%, so interesting. And Cake, which is pretty well tethered to Binance Coin, also up. And then AVAX also green. Who's leading the way down is Tron. So that's definitely a name to watch. If there was going to be an alt season, I think that Tron would probably benefit from it sooner rather than later. It's kind of been lagging the top 20 cryptos, altcoins. So it's something to watch there. But I do believe there's some fundamental issues with that project over there. So we'll keep moving. Steel down 1.6%. Silver and gold both moderately down. And then here's your big one today, guys. This is going to be a big sector to pay attention to. It's because Microsoft is printing earnings today. So that is going to be very, very big for the market. This is going to prove, is there still an appetite for the B2B tech world? Are they still buying? Are they buying additional services? And where is Microsoft's revenue coming from? Microsoft does a lot. What exactly are they selling that the market is buying right now? Those earnings are important to watch because Microsoft is overbalanced bought by all of the indexes, the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, and the S&P. Broadly, you are seeing a continuation of a sell-off from this morning trickling in, but you are seeing names like Apple and Meta outperform the big tech market. Tesla even ticking green here as I'm commentating. Bond yields mixed. Your younger bond yields are doing a little bit better than your old, so perhaps getting a little bit of a cure on the yield curve right there. Taking a look at the Dixie, still green for the day. That would be expected, just as the broader markets are trying to correct today from yesterday's big move to the upside. But let's keep moving. Cannabis mixed. And mid-cap mixed, and then your oil producers are down today. So that's going to be our market open, guys. Let's go ahead and do a quick twitch over to our stories for the day. Tim, did you have any comments on the market open? You liking what you're seeing?
Yeah, no, it's normal. I mean, things are opening up a little bit in the red today. Crypto is looking a little bit in the red. It's just part of regrouping. We got a long day ahead of us. The market's just opened.
Mm-hmm.
People just woke up. Again, like I said, when you were looking at that Bitcoin chart, which right now, I think Bitcoin is a great indicator of what risk assets look like, what crypto looks like. Watch that 4-hourly chart, that Bollinger Band constriction we have. Breakout should be coming here very soon. Again, we gave reasons why I think that on the charts, there's reasons for both upside and downside. We'll get a little more clarity as we jump into these news articles, though, as to why I think there's actually a potential greater chance of it being to the upside here over the next couple of days than to the downside.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I told you guys that I was going to want to try something new today with the news, and we're going to go ahead and do it. I did not read the headlines in the beginning because that's all I'm going to do today. Just going to go through the headlines. We've got higher quantity. It's quantity over quantity today. Quantity over quality today. So we're going to try that out. Let us know in the chat and in the comments if that's something you like or if you want to have more deep dives. Let's do it. So starting off, the SEC, Hester Pierce says crypto industry should not wait for regulators to solve problems. And I'm going to just keep moving. There's so much I want to dig into there, but we're going to keep moving. Challenge my impulse here.
Maybe we'll go deeper in stuff with Discord.
Yeah, exactly. I like that, Tim.
Bada boom.
CZ alleges FTX paid $43 million to news organization to publish Binance FUD. Very interesting.
Is that news? I thought that had already been...
It is news. It is news as of today. Wow. I would imagine maybe we're not going to scroll down into the details, but I would imagine
43 million is new.
I would imagine that total is new.
Yeah.
And then CZ actually tweeting that again is new, kind of bringing it back up. Okay. EU plans digital euro bill metaverse policy for May, Commission says. So this one's pretty interesting. You're getting a CBDC headline. Those were pretty big at the end of the week, and T-Shroom is still getting into commentary. He can't do it. I can't do it. I can't just read the headlines, but I'm going to keep trying. Bitcoin price consolidation opens the door for Ape, Mana, Aave, and Phil to move higher. And then I was just highlighting Microsoft's earnings are today. We kind of covered that in the market open, but this is extremely important. So definitely be paying attention to that. And that's coming at the market close for today. Moving along, we're not getting away from Microsoft just yet. What you got, Tim?
Elo Brown just made a really funny statement. He said, T-Shroom, how about you read the headlines and we will guess if it's FUD or real?
Well, that's actually funny because there's let me see. I think Coin Market Cap has a feature for that now. Let's really? Take a look. Yeah. So if you scroll down to so you just pick any coin, let's do Ethereum, and then you scroll all the way down, you can vote on whether it's fact or FUD.
Oh, wow. I've never seen that before.
So yeah, I think you can do. Let's do. They want me to sign in for it. All right. Well, let's keep moving. So Microsoft layoff, but thank you, Elo Brown. That is funny. Microsoft layoffs reportedly hit key VR and metaverse teams. So that is interesting, but not a huge surprise. Singapore regulator advocates one regulatory system for crypto and traditional finance. Real quick, Tim, are you for or against that? One regulatory system.
Depends on what that would imply, I guess. If it was one and it was really loose, then yeah, I'd be for it. But I'm assuming it's to be one and extremely strict, so I'm going to say no. I
think ultimately it's going to shake out to be one regulatory system because crypto is international.
Here's why it shouldn't be, is because a good amount of cryptos should not be falling under the same lines as some of the stock market. So not every crypto is a security. So to say there'd be one would have to say that everything would be falling under the boat of being a security, and that's just not true. So the reason my answer is no. I would say I'm fine with one if they operate with things outside of securities, but since they're going to say that certain things are securities, I'm going to say no, let's get more than one.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that the way that it works out is that you do have to have, initially you'll have it state by state, which is what it is. By country is what I mean by that. And then eventually it will become there will be a global regulatory standard that will probably start in the West and spread to the East. It'd be interesting if it happened in reverse, but ultimately I don't think you start with a global standard. I don't think the UN is ahead of the crypto curve here. They would probably be the regulatory agency or maybe the IMF or like the Bank of International Settlements. But I think they're more interested in just launching a CBDC.
It really cracks me up, all of the people in Europe thinking that they should be the ones dictating what happens to currency when they've been obliterating theirs for a long time now.
That's a good point.
This is like someone said my mic sounds low. This is like I'm trying to think of a good example of someone terrible. This is like a kindergartner, and that's a bad example. This is like let me think of an example.
Well, it's the pot calling the kettle black.
It's even worse. It's like, okay, this is Sam Bankman-Fried taking over Binance, us giving the keys to Sam Bankman-Fried over Binance and Coinbase and saying, hey, you decide what's best for Binance and Coinbase.
Yeah.
It's irresponsible in business world, but because it's governmental, they think that they have the right to do so.
It's like letting Bernie Madoff rewrite the Ponzi scheme laws kind of thing. All right. So this is a story that we are going to dive into because it's juicy, it's interesting, and it's got a picture of our favorite lady, Janet Yellen. Look at her there. She's just making her opinion known. All right. Democrats push to eliminate the debt ceiling and allow unlimited government borrowing. Could we be entering into a new phase of modern monetary theory? Guys, let's read into some of the details here. Weaponizing the debt ceiling and using it as a pawn in partisan budget negotiations is dangerous and repeatedly brings our nation to the brink of default, which would be disastrous to the U.S. economy, something we've witnessed as recently as 2011 when Republicans created a debt ceiling crisis that resulted in the first ever downgrade to the U.S. credit rating. This is from Representative Bill Foster, and Bill Foster has created a law and a bill. Goodness gracious, Foster's bill is the end of the Threat to Default Act, and it's co-sponsored by 42 House Democrats. So what exactly does this do? Well, it tries to eliminate the debt ceiling altogether, which is kind of crazy, novel concept. And Tim already has an opinion on it. Let's hear it.
This is point number one for why it might not be a bad time to be buying some Bitcoin.
I like it. Yeah. I think it's point number more than one.
So it gets 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Point 1, 2, 3, and 4. Debt ceiling gone, buy Bitcoin.
Yep. And let's keep reading. So the Biden administration and its Democratic allies in Congress have argued that raising the debt ceiling does not allow new spending and only allows the government to meet its current obligations. But Republicans say congressional approval of new spending programs is what has repeatedly forced the government to keep hitting its borrowing limit, which has then forced Congress to keep raising the debt ceiling. Right? So they're kind of painting a portrait of this being the worst thing ever and it needing to be solved. And ultimately, this is what they think the solution is that you just go ahead and eliminate the ceiling. I've got a graphic here that I wanted to show really quickly. Guys, this is the debt to GDP ratio. I've showed this again, and I will continue to show it. I'm not ashamed to show this here graphic. I'll even move myself over just so you can see these end dates here. Guys, this graphic shows that at the top of World War II, meaning the financial top, at the end of World War II in 1945, we were at 103% debt to GDP, right? Meaning our GDP at the time was the exact quantity in dollar amounts that we were in debt, right? So we'd taken all this debt, sold all these bonds to the American people and our foreign allies and said, hey, we will pay you back. We just need to buy steel. We need to buy rubber. And we need to go defeat these Nazis, right? That was all, basically contained within this figure here, 103%, right? Now you play that out, and we return back to a mean reversion back down to about 30%, right? And that's where we're rocking out from through the 60s, right, through the 2000s. But then all of a sudden, in 2008, we have this financial crisis that forces us to, by 2009, get back up above 50% debt to GDP. And now, post-pandemic, we are actually rocking out at, I think it's 130%. So we have now surpassed that. And how many Nazis did we defeat? How many crazy dictatorships that were committing Holocausts did we defeat? 0, right? We did not incur the same amount of benefit for the amount of dollars spent, in my humble opinion. And what the Democrats want to do now, and look, first of all, the article that we were just reading from was from Fox News, so just full disclosure for everybody who understands the flow of information. This was probably a pretty biased reading, but ultimately, they're not making this stuff up. This is what they want to do. They want to eliminate the debt ceiling. Do you think that that's going to make this go down or up? And do you think this going down or up makes our bonds look more or less appealing to a foreign financial audience? Here's the problem with that, guys. Obviously, you would take the position that it makes it look less appealing, but here's the thing. The other bonds aren't any better, right? The Japanese bonds, the British bonds, which are kind of like, the other standards, even the German bonds, they're not looking much better. And so it's kind of this story that's going on, and it's the same in the currency markets. Everybody sucks. All of the products suck. But the U.S. is still the best in the game. When you look at the Dixie, you still see that we're still the best in the game, but it's so terrible. Well, as Tim so eloquently put, and I was hoping we would land on this, but his very early observation was that ultimately Bitcoin is the answer. Guys, we're in a world full of problems, but there is a solution to one of those problems, which, a lot of people would say is the underlying root problem, which is that the dollar hasn't been pegged to anything real. It doesn't have to be pegged to gold. It could be pegged to commodities, but it hasn't been pegged to anything. It's been basically pegged to the knowledge and intelligence level of what Ivy League schools have been able to pump out in the form of Federal Reserve governors and Federal Reserve chairmen, right? That is what the dollar's been pegged to, is the intelligence of humans, which is very flawed. It should be pegged to something scarce like gold or a weighted commodity basket. And so ultimately, guys, I don't think that this bill is going to pass. I don't think that they're going to eliminate the debt ceiling. I think that also, you take it more from a more cynical standpoint, the media industry in this country is not going to let them do away with one of the biggest booms for their industry. Every time that there's a debt ceiling or a government shutdown, the media makes a ton of money off selling ads from covering that situation. So that's where we'll leave that, unless, Tim, you had any thoughts. Do you think the Democrats should eliminate the debt ceiling?
Wait, did you say should they?
Should they?
No one should do that.
Nobody should.
That is absolutely ridiculously irresponsible. I can just kind of close it off there. Will they try? They will. I do think this article is hitting on a point of saying, like, hey, they're going to be trying to do this. Because when you study and you apply Keynesian economics, your philosophy of acquiring debt to build, they think this is the right solution. So I do want to kind of, put some humane narratives here. They really do believe. I don't think that this is like, I've heard people kind of accuse them like, oh, they're straight up evil. They're purposely trying to ruin the country. Let's not give them that much credit. I think they honestly think this is the right solution. And the reason why is because they believe in Keynesian economic theory. It just does not work. And it will continue to destroy future generations. The problem is that in Keynesian economics, all you're thinking about is how can we help the right here, the right now, the people who are affected right now. And guess what? There's going to be millions, if not billions of people around the world who are going to see immediate satisfaction based off of debt like this happening. It's going to be the children, though, and the children's children, and the children's children, that we continue to kick this can down the road. But it's not like we're kicking a can down the road. It's more like we're kicking a snowball down a hill. And every single roll, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're going to let the children have to deal with all of that stuff. And this is why I think Bitcoin, whether it passes or not, think back, T-Shroom, and people listening. Think back to things that were put in motion 20 years ago. Ideas that were put forth and shot down at the time. We have not just gone back to those levels, we've gone way past it. This is what progressive, and this is how we do in this world. When you're being progressive, when you're constantly updating and you're changing, yes, you put forth thoughts that get rejected at first and then down the road get accepted. So the fact that there's going to be a serious push to do this, and knowing that we live in a very progressive world, maybe we're able to stave this off for more years. Maybe we're even able to stave it off for 5 to 10 years. But eventually we'll do it. This is where Bitcoin becomes so absolutely crucial, is because it's going to be the first time our world has seen an incorruptible, and when I mean incorruptible, even as good as gold was corruptible because it was physical. It's going to be the first time that we're going to have a real store of value that actually can keep governments and things responsible. Because if the governments want to start getting ridiculously in debt, well, guess what? The businessmen, the people who actually really run things, they're going to get responsible and say, you know what? I'm not buying U.S. bonds. I'm not going to be going here and backing the government. I'm going to go back with something I know has value, and that is Bitcoin. That is these other cryptocurrencies. That is these other technologies that I know I can invest against. They're not going to do it. And it's going to cause governments, not just the United States government, but governments worldwide, to become more financially responsible because they have to obey the laws of economics and they have to obey the laws of right financing. If they just keep printing money and money and money and money and money, eventually no one will respect that money. The only reason why the US dollar is so powerful right now is because there's nothing better than it. once something progresses that is better than the dollar will either A, get in line and start obeying the laws of economics, or B, it will die. Guess what I think is going to happen? I think the dollar's going to start obeying it. I'll just tell a quick story. I found out yesterday, and I'm not going to say his name. He might be watching. If he's watching, shout out to you. I love you. My boss, I'm going to have to be orange pilling my boss. He was asking me how Bitcoin is going. I was talking to him about it, and he's like, yeah, he's like, do you still believe in it long term? And I'm like, yes, I believe in it long term. He's like, I love the technology. Like, I think if we can get our dollar, pegged to that kind of technology so we don't have to carry around these physical bills, and I think that would be beautiful. I was like, you mean like a CBDC? He's like, yeah, I've been hearing about those. Yeah, CBDC. I think that what we're going to do is we're going to use crypto. And he's pretty much saying, like, Bitcoin, I don't really believe in Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's going to die, but I think that the blockchain technology is going to take over with the US dollar. Guess what? I'm getting to a place where I actually somewhat believe. I don't know if Bitcoin ever will be really currency. I know El Salvador is still testing that out. I don't think it's going to happen. But I do believe Bitcoin can be the responsible backing of money, whether it be official or unofficial, that keeps things like, whether they're CBDCs or whether we end up going with a different type of cryptocurrency to become the everyday exchange. I think that Bitcoin's responsibility is going to be a store of value. We'll always compare whether we're trading CBDCs or whether we're trading Ethereum or whether we're trading Dogecoin or whether we're trading Litecoin or whatever we choose. It will always be, well, what is this worth compared to Bitcoin? I don't know when that's going to happen, but I do believe that is the future. Yeah. And I know we were kind of wrapping up today's show. We're a little bit over, but the reason why I think, let's kind of wrap this all back up. Let me go through a couple of reasons why I'm sitting here really wrestling with saying, you know what? I might purchase Bitcoin right now, even if I'm wrong and we have a good dip back down to 20,000, even if we go back down to new all-time lows. It's all about making sure you're choosing the right spot, because guess what? If I buy right now and the price goes down to 14,000, yes, it's going to be really easy to say, oh, bought a top, had a new bottom, darn it, that made a mistake, right? But what if we just shoot up? What if we do just shoot up into the 30s? What if we shoot up to 40 over the next couple of weeks? Then people are going to say, oh, this was a brilliant move. Sometimes investing is about taking the correct risks, and sometimes risks don't play out perfectly. The reason why I'm getting more and more in the boat of saying this might be a good risk to start buying more now, not necessarily waiting for new lows, is because of stories like this. We're seeing governments actually legitimately start to talk about getting rid of debt ceilings. That is something that would be massively bullish for crypto because of how terrible it would be for the US dollar. The other thing I'm looking at, guess what we've been seeing pumped in the news over and over and over again? I tweeted about it yesterday, but we got another very bearish claim from from Cramer. Jim Cramer is once again saying, buy gold, don't buy Bitcoin, stay away from it. The joke there is, oh, that's bullish. But here's the other thing. Then we got Jamie Dimon coming out more recently, the CEO of JP Morgan, saying, stay away from Bitcoin. We have all these large institutions saying, stay away, stay away, stay away, stay away. Guess what? A lot of times when you hear them speak that loudly, that is actually a sign that the price is about to go to the upside, not the downside. And especially when I'm looking at these fundamental things, yes, I do believe we'll see a little bit of dip next week when the FOMC comes out and Jerome Powell gets a little hawkish. I actually firmly believe when we're looking at the debt ceiling potentially coming off, and we look at the fact that we're potentially going to be passing, or we did pass, the $1.7 trillion bill to turn money printers back on. When we're seeing things like even, the firings that just happened over at Google, a lot of people are worried, oh no, is this beginning of the job market going down? No, I have a friend that works there, and he literally is saying, he's inside, he was one of the employees that did not get fired, but it was very clear, this was not a Google saying we're about to have some rough times, let's fire people. This was we no longer need massive amount of people because technology is building. Well, guess what happens when technology builds? Technology will bring actually more jobs in the future. It will bring more creativity. It will bring more value to the space, which Bitcoin is going to be one of the ones that people then look to invest in that to build bigger businesses. I think there's a very real chance right now, even though we have not hit 25,000, that from those things alone, the bottom could be in for those reasons. But even better, especially if next week we hit 25 basis points and not a hawkish remarks from Jerome Powell, maybe he does change his tune, that would be even more bullish. I think it's worth the risk right now to start buying Bitcoin, even up here at $23,000, to prepare that maybe we never see a $20,000 again. And maybe we do, in which case you might want to leave a little bit of dry powder down there for that as well. Maybe you want to leave a little bit down for 14,000. But you would be frustrated if you keep waiting for a $14,000, $13,000, $12,000, $9,000 price action that never comes. In the same way, a lot of people are very frustrated. They were waiting for $80,000, $90,000, $100,000, and that didn't come in the last bull market. It's all about preparing yourself. You would have been wise to take profit at 65, 67, 68, and just like that, you'd be wise to start buying if you have not already right here, 23,000, maybe 22, maybe 24, maybe 25. The bottom is closer than we think. And for those reasons, I'm sitting here saying I think I'm going to start applying more and buying more Bitcoin even at these higher prices. I do want to let you guys know, though, we'll be covering both sides of this. I don't want to be considered this perma bull or perma bear. I actually will be having a guest on very soon who's a bear, a very strong bear, because I want to hear his thoughts. I want to hear what he's seeing that maybe I'm not seeing and maybe these other influencers aren't seeing. So I want you guys to be able to have both views. I want you to see the bullish. I want you to see the bearish. I want you to decide for yourself. So if that is something you guys love, make sure that you are subscribed to this channel and you look at every piece of content we put out. Make sure you're smashing that four-fingered mitten, that like button every single day. By the way, we got 100 people watching with only 83 likes. We definitely can get that a little bit higher. And then if you want to go a step further and you love learning and you love being a part of this community, again, in that Discord in the description down below, we just have a link. We started yesterday and today is the full-on launch. Even during the show, I think we've had another 3 or 4 people sign up. You can go join our Patreon right now. And it's not just a, hey, you want to just give money to us. We want to build this community. We want to build the education. We want to get better video content. We want to get better equipment. We want to get better research. It would be very nice to go ahead and hire an editor sometime in the future so that while we're doing our other jobs, we can focus on better content rather than little nitnacky things. So if you want to be a part of that, go join that Patreon. And in that, there's so many perks like weekly live AMAs that are coming for that gold package. We'll have different behind the scenes things. Maybe you guys get to be part of the show and the planning process of it, but also a lot of cool technical analysis and behind the scenes videos going on over there that you will not have access to unless you're part of that Patreon and in that Discord. With that said, though, guys, that is all we have for you in today's show. Make sure, again, if you have not already, smash that like button, and we will see you guys tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. With that said, you guys have a good day.